الملائكة أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على البشير النذير السراج المنير سيدنا ونبينا وشفيئنا إن شاء الله الخاتم لما سبق والفاتح لمن غلق المؤلن الحق بالحق أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل عليه وعلى أهل بيته مظاهر جمالك وجلالك الذين كلامهم نور وأمرهم رشد ووصيتهم التقوى وفعلهم الخير أما بعد صدق الله تعالى حيث يقول وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين صلوات السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. I begin in the name of the most merciful Master, the most magnificent. He, the most high, is Rabbul Alameen, the nourisher, the sustainer. I begin by giving thanks to Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's most choicest blessings be upon all the prophets, especially our final prophet, his holy family, and his pious companions. And today, my sermon, the title is Imam Hussain, the Domain of Love. And I actually wrote a blog on this on my website, so I'm just going to expand on a few points that I mentioned there. And I find it most befitting to start with this verse that I just quoted from Surah 6, verse 162. It says, Qul, say, Inna salati wa nusuki, surely my prayer, my worship, wa mahyaya wa mamati, my life and my death, lillahi, they're all for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbul Alameen, the Lord of all the worlds. So I found this really befitting in regard to my topic on Imam Hussain, where the Quran says, surely my prayer, my worship, my life, my death is all for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what we've seen in the life of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. So to begin, who is Imam Hussain to me? So after the Prophet, peace be upon him, he's one of the most beloved personalities to me. Why? Because the truth is, if I wasn't told about Imam Hussain and his characteristic, and I didn't listen about him or read about him, or listen to other Muslims or even non-Muslims speak about him, honestly, I would have thought that this is just another character in a Marvel movie or someone you just read in novels and these books that superhero, he does this and he does that. So this would have put him in this sort of category. However, with a deeper inspection, I came to realize that Imam Hussain is just not a human, he is humanity itself. Imam Hussain isn't just Adil, he is Adala, he is justice itself. Imam Hussain isn't just one man, he is an entire army. Imam Hussain isn't just love or loving, he is the domain of love. And there is something truly and utterly unique about Imam Hussain that I realized, and funnily enough, I realized this during one of our collective ijtihad meetings. When Dr. Hashim comes in, he resonates. The now infamous abbreviation of ICCI that gets everyone's attention all around the world. So during one of our ICCI meetings, we were speaking about Muharram rituals and the best way to address the usual debates on Zanjir and Tatbir and Matam and bloodletting and all these other topics we had. And then just then when this conversation was going on in the room, I paused and I said, if anyone is to write about Imam Hussain Islam and the love that people have for him and what the Sharia will say in terms of halal and haram with Zanjir and Tatbir and all this, I just paused here and I thought, right, when you're talking about Imam Hussain, you're writing about him, you can't be too academically inclined or you can't be too quote-unquote malang when it comes to Imam Hussain. You need to combine the academic side and this malang side of a person, because truly Imam Hussain alayhi salam is not just another person. With all due respect to all the great figures in history, past and present, both Muslims and non-Muslims, Imam Hussain is so unique that there's no exclusive word invented to describe him. Even within Islam, the Imam, he stands out head and shoulders above many other influential figures. And we have a hadith which state that excessive grief by wailing and shrieking and ripping your garments and slapping your face is all haram, except when it's for Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And truly, there is no other personality that shares this unique privilege. If indeed these hadith are proved accurate, it shows that Imam Hussein's entire personality is unique from any other figure within Islam and outside of Islam. And then I had a thought after this meeting that indeed, inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all with Jannah, that I would beg him and I would say to him, "O most merciful, give me a brief moment's meeting with Imam Hussain." I would say to him, "O Imam, even though I have never met you nor seen you physically, you have touched my heart amongst millions of others. You have taught me patience and with Dr. Hashim at the back, when to stand up and when to fight and argue, but in the same breath, when to be patient, when to listen to others." I'll tell this to Imam Hussain. "Thank you for showing me when to sit down, when to take it easy." And on another point above this, when people doubt the existence of God, I get astounded when it comes to Imam Hussain. When people doubt the existence of God, I say to such people, look no further than Imam Hussain. There's no way a person does what Imam Hussain does just for himself, just for his ego. There must be a greater reason and a greater motivation behind him. Beyond himself, beyond his surroundings, beyond his enemies, beyond his companions and family members, there is some greater force at work motivating Hussain. Some call him Allah, some call him God, some call him Yahweh, and there's many other words, but yeah, that's good. So to recognize God the way Imam Hussain did, we need to love, and not only love, we need to be loved, we need to have self-love, and we need to love others. Because as Sheikh Hujjat al-Islam, Sheikh Adam once said in his khutbah a few months ago here, I'm sure he took it from Imam Baqir Islam, he said, if I'm not mistaken, he said, "What is religion other than love?" And this is the open-ended question we must all ponder on. And alhamdulillah, we are blessed to experience the domain of love in the holy month of Muharram once again. And this open-ended question is to reflect upon, not just now, but when you go home. What is religion other than love? And when it comes to Imam Hussain, and as I describe him, he is the domain of love, there is a very serious question that I want to explore here. And this question has been actually cropping up a lot with different people that I've been speaking with. And they're all asking this fundamental question. I do not feel a connection with God. I am distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, I attend lectures. Yes, I pray. I come to these Friday sermons. Yes, it all sounds great that God loves me, I love him. Yeah. We've heard it all before, and we constantly hear it. But why am I not feeling it? Why don't the words penetrate the inner being? I am trying hard, but still I pray, but I do not feel. I pray, but I do not feel anything. It's empty. There's a void. There's a vagueness in my life. And sometimes there is no guilt in not praying. Sometimes the prayer or my salah feels worthless, valueless, and it's shameful. And then when this person was saying this to me, I actually analyzed the language they were using during the conversation. And the first thing that hit me was the word guilt. It was such an interesting word to use here. I do not feel guilty. Why am I not feeling guilt for not praying? It's very interesting. So I thought if the word guilt is coming up here, perhaps it suggests that our salah, our acts of ibadat, is just a chore. And if I don't do it, I'm a criminal, I'm guilty of a crime. And if this feeling of guilt is constantly coming up again and again and again, oh, I'm not praying, I'm guilty, you're putting yourself down more and more and more. Perhaps the root cause of this is our priorities are upside down. And maybe this is why we do not feel a connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our prayer. And what do I mean by priorities? A classic example when I was growing up is if my friends call me out to play, shows how old I am to play. In 2 minutes, I would respond, football, cricket, whatever it was, I'm out, I'm there. But if my parents would send me to the shops or do this or do that, now I'm too busy. Now I'm busy on all the social media apps, busy looking at the blank wall that doesn't offer me anything. All these things I get busy in. Then I seen that there's one profound problem here. The ones who love us more than anyone, we're ignoring them and we're rejecting them. For others that love us on a lesser level, that use us for pleasure, use us for time pass, and we're ignoring the people that should be at the top, we're putting them at the bottom. So I thought, for me, here is the root of the problems, our upside down priorities. And how is it possible to ever feel connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you're not respecting our elders, our youngsters? Sometimes we're valuing our friends over our parents. We're ignoring God for the world. And in a lot of times we're doing it willingly. And this dunya, it has us on a really tight lock. It has us on an electronic tag that, oh, you're feeling too happy today, let me deal with that. Ping. There's a news story, a celebrity is being caught cheating. Distraction. Ping. Celebrity grooming, distraction. Ping, 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 ping. These are all we're getting. Distraction after distraction after distraction. That nowadays, we are so connected to our phones, me included, that we've become a phone. The only thing difference between me and my phone is the word smart, and interpret that label any way you wish. And what do I mean when I say we have become our phones? For me, it is as though we are so hardwired to receive texts and alerts and messages and God knows what else, that our brain cannot function without this. It's like a constant dopamine release that we need. And then I thought, it's no wonder why we feel prayer is losing value, because we're so engrossed on our phones, our laptops, now our phones on our watches. And it seems like prayer is just getting in the way. It's just a nuisance that, okay, I'm doing this, I better pray, get it out of the way. And then I thought, this is where this guilt is coming in, that I know I should do it, I'm not doing it. And then the root problem, like I said, is our priorities are wrong or upside down. How in this generation have we become so distracted that we, on the first level, with our free will, we ignore God. And on the second level, subconsciously, we ignore God. Like for me, if you have to go to watch a football game, Old Trafford, there's a kickoff time. You have to set off a few hours before, get there on time. But when it comes to prayer, if it's 1:13, it doesn't matter, we'll pray 2-3 hours later. And I realized that, again, priorities are messed up. Our time is not valued. We're not valuing sometimes our parents, our elders. And without self-reflection, we're going to continue going down this rabbit hole. And I'm going to steal the words of Dr. Rizwan Work, who was here in our Fiqh workshop a couple of weeks ago. He said that we don't know whether this world is a simulation or not. We don't know what is reality and what isn't. And I feel like the further we go down into this rabbit hole, we have smart watches, smartphones, smart cars. Everything but the human is smart nowadays. And we're going right deep into this rabbit hole that what is reality? We're engaging more in the metaverse and the cloud than we are on the earth. So in trying to decipher this reality, I root myself in the words of the Quran. It tells us to respect our elders, pray for our parents, look after the poor, the orphans, the traveler, Dr. Hashim, the needy. Islam also encourages us to socialize with each other, to follow the Prophet, to love the Ahlul Bayt, to follow these pious companions and take their lead. But if we are constantly distracted, how can we reprioritize? How can we rearrange, reorganize our lives? How can we think for ourselves if everything else is doing our thinking for us? So, yes, I acknowledge here that we may never feel connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if we constantly allow these pings, these distractions to allow us to be distracted. If we let everything push us and pull us from pillar to post, from one end of the earth to another. And how can we even love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when many of us don't know nothing about Him in the first instance? It's impossible. And for me, here is where Imam Hussain comes in. He can turn the impossible into the possible. And you may have seen that meme. I know Sheikh T is laughing. That meme that says the word impossible itself says I'm possible. Imam Hussain, on a deeper level, he shows us how a brother interacts with his brother, how a brother interacts with his sister, how a leader interacts with his people, how to organize, how to reorganize, how to prioritize, how to reprioritize. All this and more is shown in the example of Imam Hussain. And for me, the biggest inspiration about Imam Hussain is that in this heat in Karbala 1400 years ago, with his fate sealed, with the enemies counting down the hours to slay him for worldly gain, still Salah is constant. The congregational prayer is emphasized. Whether you debate it has existential value or not, it's still emphasized. It shows us today that this is what was the most important thing in Imam Hussein's life. It shows us organization, the importance of the Jama'ah prayer, and the importance of brotherhood. So now I want to take your mind back to 1400 years ago and just situate yourself in the following scenario. Just imagine the Imam is praying or he's getting ready to pray. But how can he pray with 100 things on his mind? And I don't even need to go into these things. You know more than me what things would be going on in the Imam's psyche in this moment. But I asked this question to the Imam. How can you in these moments be so God-centric, so God-focused, so aligned with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And the answer I get is love. Love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That for you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would do this 1,000 times and more. Imagine Imam Hussain reciting the Fatiha, praising his Lord the Most High, Master of the Day of Judgment, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep him on the Siratul Mustaqim. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So for me, I found this honestly so profound and energizing. The importance of speaking with God, glorifying Him, finding peace in a surrounding where wolves are after your blood. This is Salah. This is prayer. This is Hussain. This is Tawheed. And maybe the reason we do not feel connected in our own Salah is because one, we do not know what we're saying, and two, it's just become routine. We recite Al-Fatiha in 1 second, Surah Ikhlas and Kawthar in a combined 2 minutes and 30 seconds, tamam, the prayer is finished. Let's go do the most important things now. Let's check our phones. Let's check Instagram and Twitter and our likes. Let's go eat. Let's go play. let's go watch, let's do whatever. And perhaps if we all reflected on Imam Hussain and Karbala, the importance of prayer and how the Imam must have done wudu, the thought process he was going through whilst washing his arms, washing his face, then getting the lines ready for the prayer, saying Allahu Akbar with full conviction. And if we really isolate these moments, we can see the respect and value Imam Hussain had for prayer, number one, but more importantly, this was the way his grandfather taught him to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So do your meditations. A wise man once told me this. Do your meditations, do all this, but follow the man that brought you Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the first place, Rasulullah. Follow his actions. And now if you lovely people would be so kind to bear with me for a few more minutes, I just want to expand on this one point that I made regarding Muharram being a heart reviver. Because in the month of Muharram, it revives our hearts, it rekindles the energy that we had during Ramadan. We eat with one another, we meet members of the community, we rekindle the brotherhood and sisterhood. And I was asked by someone, how is it possible that some community members and some people can instantly cry for Imam Hussain in 2 seconds whilst others cannot? Or how is it that one group of people cry constantly for 10 days, whereas some on Ashura, a few tears come out? So I replied to this wise man. I said that Imam Hussain is so unique here that many people offload during these 10 nights, during these majalis. They may be depressed or heavily depressed, in fact, feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders. They may even be suicidal, and I know cases of this. But people, and especially men, they do not speak about their feelings, their depressions, and they lock their sadnesses away. However, when it comes to Imam Hussain, the very same men who are depressed, who are suicidal, who are on medication, the very same men, when it comes to Imam Hussain, they wail, they cry loudly. Some genuinely do it for Imam Hussain. For others, this is the only time they get to think about their own selves and their own predicament, their own anxieties and fears. And it is only during the majalis where you can cry without feeling self-conscious, without feeling like your masculinity is affected, without feeling not man enough or inferior. And all this is facilitated by Aba Abdullah al-Hussain, by his love. His gatherings become a place for many people to let go of pent-up feelings. They cry openly. Imam Hussain is the key that will open your heart. And hence why I said right at the beginning, when it comes to Imam Hussain, you cannot be too academic, nor be full of emotion. A balance is needed. And we shouldn't actually look down on people who shed tears, who do matam and rituals in honor of Imam Hussain. Let's look instead at the love they have for a man who existed 1400 years ago, a man they have never met, but a man who embodies all the positive characteristics of humanity at large. And maybe this is one of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the angels ask, why are you creating humankind when they're just going to cause fitna, fasad? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied, I know what you know not. And perhaps the you know not here is that there will be people like Imam Hussain in every era, in every generation, who can revive dead hearts and spiritually enlighten. Allahu A'lam. And I end this part of the khutbah with a poem from Allama Tabatabai on Imam Hussain. I thank Dr. Fanai for helping me with the Farsi and the English. He says, Guft an Shah-e Shahidan ke bala shud suyam, ba hamin ghafile am rah fana mi puyam. He says about Imam Hussain, the king of martyrs, said, great afflictions are heading towards me. And Allama says, with this caravan, I am on the path to fana. I am on the path towards self-annihilation in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad. لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Like we said in the first bit of the khutbah, the same Quranic verse, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul, say, inna salati wa nusuki, my prayers and my worship, wa mahya wa mamati, my life and my death, lillahi, is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of all the worlds. And the second part of this khutbah, and I don't actually think I've ever spoke this long, to be honest, just shows the love of Imam Hussain. And I want to reflect on Imam Hussain away from the lens of Sunni, Shia, Salafi, Athari, Muslim, non-Muslim, and also reflect on the intimately close connection between Rasulullah and Imam Hussain. So I'm going to start with the Urdu poem by Allama Iqbal, who says, हर इब्तिदा से पहले हर इंतहा के बाद ज़ात नबी बुलंद है ज़ात खुदा के बाद दुनिया में एहतराम के काबिल है जितने लोग मैं सबको मानता हूँ मगर मुस्तफ़ा के बाद कत्ले हुसैन असल में मर्गे यजीदी है इस्लाम जिंदा होता है हर करबला के बाद. So Allama Iqbal here, he says that before every beginning and after every end, the essence of the Prophet is above all except God. Everyone who is worthy of respect in this world, I accept, but only after acknowledging Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. He says the killing of Hussein is actually the death of Yazid. And this end line is particularly difficult to translate. It says, Islam zinda hota hai har Karbala ke baad. He says Islam is revived after every Karbala, perhaps to mean that Islam is revived through the remembrance annually of what happened in Karbala. So when you represent Imam Hussain, when you fly the flag of Hussain, the flag of Tawheed, there is no flag of Al-Mahdi Institute or a PhD scholar or whatever labels you associate with. There is no flag of Bradford Hussainiya, Birmingham Hussainiya, hatta even the labels of Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, all of this dissolves, goes into nothingness when it comes to Imam Hussain. Why? Because Hussain unites all in his domain, in his arc. On the walk in Arba'in, we see people from all walks of life uniting. Muslims, Shia, non-Shia, Christians, Hindu, and so on. We see this year in, year out. No color is seen, no nationality is witnessed. Hearts are united here. And the astounding thing here is that this only happens in one other place, in Hajj and Umrah, where we wear the ihram. So now look at the connection between Rasulullah and Imam Hussain. There is a really, really deep meaning when Imam Hussain says, I have come to reform the Ummah and revive the teachings of my grandfather. And when the Prophet says, Hussain o minni wa ana min al-Hussain, he says, and also he says, indeed, Hussain is the lamp of guidance and the ark of salvation. He says, Imam Hussain, chirage hidayat hai. He is the illuminating path of salvation. Because at the core of Rasulullah's message, in his final sermon, he says there's no superiority between a black or a white. Everyone is human. We all bleed the same. We breathe the same, and so on. Superiority only comes against yourself, fighting against your nafs, making yourself better every day, making your weaknesses into strengths. And superiority is only in your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how is Imam Hussein's message any different? And I take a line from Sheikh Arif when he says that God is colorless and genderless and he negates all this stuff from God. And he says, let everyone worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their own unique way without condemning one another. And in essence, I see this with Imam Hussain. People who attend the synagogues, the masajid, the kalis, the mandir, the haram, all come together for Imam Hussain. Why? Because, like I said, he is the domain of love. A love that is not bogged down with the color of your skin, with the money in your pocket, whether you do matam or not, and all these other things that we are so fascinated by. Love is Hussain, and Hussain is love. And this is the quickest way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So embark on the ship of love in this Muharram. So when Imam Hussain wants to revive the message of Rasulullah, the message of Tawheed, on the first level, both these personalities, Rasulullah and the Imam, they highlight that we are all human. We all have a chance to fix ourselves, no matter the sins and burden. And on the second level, after self-reflection and jihad nafs, these two personalities bring the Lord that we are so fascinated with in the Lord of the heavens and the sky. He brings them down into this earth and directs the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly into your heart. So in addition to him being Rasulullah, a messenger of God, look at the Prophet as a spiritual heart surgeon. He opens our hearts to the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Muslims, la taqnatu min rahmatillahi. Do not lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we have these great personalities as beacons of hope. So fully utilize them to the best of your abilities. And how befitting it is to end with Surah Kahf, which says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. The Quran says, and we certainly have created man and knows what his soul whispers to him, and we are closer to him than his jugular vein. Surah Kahf, verse 16. So today is the day on this Juma in Muharram we pledge and re-pledge to Rasulullah, our Prophet, our Imam, our spiritual heart surgeon, the coolness to our eyes and the tranquility to our hearts. We pledge to Imam Hussain. We take his message forward, the message built on the principle, on the saying, on the foundation of La ilaha illallah. And we call out, Assalamu ala al-Hussain wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussain wa awlad al-Hussain wa ashab al-Hussain. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. All praise is due to the Lord of the worlds, the most beautiful, the most merciful, who made mercy incumbent upon himself. He is the creator for whom our praises can never ever be sufficient, for whom our thanks and gratitude can never ever be enough. He is that Lord whose blessings can never be enumerated. He is worthy of thanks at every instant and praise at every moment for every single blessing. Blessings that do not cease, they are never ending, as He is ever present. He is the one who creates but is not created, the one who gives but is not given, the all-powerful. Every head must bow and every heart must submit. I just want to end that anything good and positive that was said is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. Anything bad or wrong, Allah and His Messenger are free from. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلوات.